Hello, everyone. I am your host, Derrick Murray, for today, leading conversations with the ForReel team about the latest movie releases. And look, it wouldn't be a summer without an Ari Aster movie that we all have to talk about. And we are going to be talking about Eddington today. We were going to have more ForReel people on, but I am very excited to have two new guests who quite literally jumped on with 3 minutes notice to talk about this movie. So we're pretty excited to have them. So from ForReel, please welcome Ethan, and then also please welcome Arthur and Zach, who jumped on in a flash. So guys, how are you guys doing this Sunday?
Oh, very good. Yeah, living the dream, baby.
Awesome. Zach, how you
Yeah.
doing?
It's ironic that you guys reached out to me because I just saw this movie for a second time today. So it's
Oh yeah.
kind of this works.
That is awesome. That is very
Yeah.
cool. So we have a great show. We are going to talk about Eddington for the first couple minutes or so. We're just going to talk about it in general. We will get into spoilers. I'll give you guys a spoiler warning. So if you have not seen Eddington and you don't want some of those things spoiled, we'll try to mark that towards the end. So it looks like we have quite a few fans. So if somebody's seen Eddington twice, I think that means there's a lot of love for it. So what I want to start by, I'm going to ask a double question to each person. So what is your relationship with Ari Aster and how did you feel about Eddington? So Zach, we'll actually start with you since you are fresh out of the theater.
My relationship to Ari is I saw Hereditary when I was in high school. Like it hit at that perfect high school age where like all my friends were talking about it, and I was just kind of getting into films. And so I saw Hereditary and loved it, and I like continuously was a fan of him. And Eddington might be my favorite of his films, if I'm being yeah. It's either that or Midsummer for me, honestly. Like Midsummer was really the one that really unlocked his style for me, for sure.
Okay, awesome. Arthur, what
Yeah.
about yourself?
Let's see. My didn't know much about Ari. I saw Hereditary because there was so much buzz at the time, and I loved it, especially the final. What was it, like 15 minutes or something like that? I never had seen something like that in a horror film, so I had done more digging because I'm a big fan of directors, and I watched all of his short films. And those were really crazy. I think it's there's something about the Johnsons or something like that, and he has like two or three other ones. A lot of them are filmed in downtown LA, which is where I lived at for a while, which I liked as well. And so I kind of I loved all those. But the thing is I actually am not a big fan of Midsummer. I was very underwhelmed when I saw that, and actually every time I see an Ari Aster film or Ari Aster film, like maybe the last two times, something interesting happens. Where the day I saw Midsummer, we had that huge earthquake, and I was in a sky rise that was doing like this, like before I went to that movie. So I was really rattled before that movie even hit. So maybe it just didn't really have the same impact as that earthquake. But I was afraid. I had to travel because I lived in Orange County at the time. I had to travel all the way to Beverly Hills to see a 10 a.m. press screening. And that was just like the worst movie to start your day with, just because of the vibe and how like slow it was. And I have come to appreciate it more with repeat viewings. It's on HBO Max available right now, and I checked it out the other night, and there are some great things about it. But I do agree with Zach. I do think that Eddington might be Ari's strongest film because it gives you the most to think about after you leave the theater. And that kind of is the testament to this one because I did not think much about it when I went to my press screening for it last week. And now, after thinking about it and seeing it a second time a few days ago, it has really just blossomed into my head. And I think it's one of the very best films of the year. And the ambition that this guy has that he brings to his films is just always just so insane because you do not see the balls on other directors like you see with Ari a lot of the time with the kind of creative choices that they make. So, I think Eddington's great. I have to agree it might be as great as Hereditary in different ways.
Wow, I'm excited. Ethan, how about yourself?
I am quite a fan of this movie. I think I saw like a 20-second teaser or something like that back when it first dropped, or I just like clicked at different points in a teaser and I'm like, yep, like just got the vibe and that's good enough for me because it's Ari Aster. I love all three of his feature films. I've yet to go back to see his shorts, but I think that's probably is probably a good time as any to check it out. I always hear people talk about Strange Thing about the Johnsons, and it's being like, whoa. So I got no idea what it's about, but I'm really excited to check that out. So I saw this film on Friday, and I did want to lower my expectations, but as such a fan of his films as I am, it was a little hard. But despite that, I still really, really loved the movie. I do think out of the four that I've seen, as of right now, it's like my least favorite of them, but that's still like a really high praise, I would say. Like he's a really, really talented filmmaker who knows how to he knows fundamentals and more. Like he understands what makes something beautiful, what makes something hilarious and dark and twisted. He understands every little building block to put into a narrative like this and the kind of wacky characters that it deserves. So I was all here for it.
Yeah. Wow. This is going to be a pretty interesting love fest for for Ari Aster, because I'm not going to be the dissenter. I actually really enjoyed Eddington, and kind of echoing some things that everybody has said, but with Zach, or I'm sorry, with Arthur, I agree. I have immense respect for directors that just go for it. I don't need it all to work. I don't need everything to be, a masterpiece, but I love unrestrained filmmaking. I think for better or worse, that's the kind of stuff that we need in cinema. I think so much of, when we talk about Marvel fatigue or superhero fatigue or, franchise fatigue, all of those things, that all stems from this craving of wanting originality, of wanting something different, of thinking that we want something new. And Ari Aster's the guy. Like, you don't have to love everything he does, but that is a man who is just like, give me money and I'm just going to make something. I'm going to shoot it beautifully. And then I'm just going to walk away from the chaos in slow motion and let the rest of the world reckon with what I've just done. And I have just immense respect for that. So when I saw Hereditary, that was obviously the first one that I saw with Ari Aster. When I saw Hereditary, I actually saw it with my dad. And both my dad and we have kind of an affinity for bleak cinema. It's one of the things that binds us. We just like movies that are really dark, that have no happy endings. And, we like that kind of nihilistic take on things. And I remember that movie left us so shell-shocked that we just went out to lunch afterwards and just kind of sat there and then just started unpacking our own family trauma as we were recounting events that happened in Hereditary. So I think Hereditary holds a special place in my heart, but because of that, I have been adamant about just seeing anything that Ari Aster does. I was obviously really high on Midsummer. I think it's definitely a step down from just the lightning in a bottle shock of Hereditary. Beau is Afraid, I am positive on, but I'm not over the moon on. I find it to be probably some of his lesser work. I respect the hell out of the ambition. And then I think Eddington is probably the best meld of both. It takes all of his great cinematic sensibilities and all the things that he does as a filmmaker, combines it with ambition, but it's much more tolerable and I think broader ambition that more and more people can access. I think one of the things that really sets people off from Beau is Afraid is just how inaccessible it is. Like, you really have to be dialed in to this man's visual language to be a stan for Beau is Afraid. And I think that Eddington takes that same ambition, but because it's a mirror and it holds a mirror back at us and just asks us if we like what we saw, I think that allows it to be a little bit more accessible, even though it is incredibly affronting. So let's just talk about some of that in Eddington. So we're gonna not get into spoilers just yet, but let's just talk about the 2020 of it all, because that is clearly front and center when it comes to Eddington. So Arthur, I'll start with you. How did reliving 2020 in a dark theater in Eddington, how did that fit for you?
Well, I really had a great, as messed up and as fucked up as this might sound, I had a great time during the COVID during May 2020 because we were getting all that unemployment money. So I was out taking trips and doing just fun stuff with my friends, under, protocol and stuff like that. But man, I tell you, Eddington, if that was going on in other places of the country, I feel so bad for them because that was not my COVID experience, fortunately for me. But it was, the thing about this film, and I had heard Ari talk about this in the interview, is that he's not trying to solve the problems here. He's not trying to solve why we went through what we went through and what the social ramifications were from COVID or anything like that. But he's here to present it and kind of present it in a way where we're supposed to laugh at it. But he really is showing a world that is just rotting from social media and everything else that they're taking in. And during that time in COVID, the thing that he perfectly encapsulates here is, especially in the teaser trailer, is you're just doom scrolling on your phone. And that's what this film feels like, is you get all those different topics, all those different culture war issues, but they're kind of on a scrolling depth where you're not really going that deep into any of these topics that he kind of presents in this film. You're getting kind of like a scroll's worth, like you're just going through all these different topics and scrolling through. So it's very fascinating. Yeah, it's not a perfect film by any means, but because of that ambition, it definitely keeps you glued. But I do feel like he definitely encapsulated that, especially in the, you see the scene where people are in the grocery store, and instead of talking to each other and looking at each other like neighbors, they're looking at each other as a threat. And that is something that I did remember from COVID, where you go to a grocery store and you're not chatting with people. You are looking at them as a potential person that is going to give you this virus, which is a very fascinating thing to kind of toy with cinematically and just on a societal level. So I think with that, just kind of having where that small community turns on each other during this very left field, like more different than anything we've ever been through kind of moment in kind of the modern era, how we react to that on a societal level. And he really, I think, grabs that in a couple of scenes in a really great way.
Yeah. Ethan, what about you? How did the 2020 of it all sit with you?
It's really shocking because the way I see things and I go, oh yeah, that's exactly how that was happening, or that's like a great like parody of what happened. And then part of me sits there and I'm like, this is also just happening now. And I feel like that's why it resonates so well still, is that it still feels modern. Like you could say that it's 2025 and you could tool around it instead of make it COVID, make it something else that makes people like social distance. But it feels really like right now, like, I don't know, I'm kind of saying a whole lot of nothing, but it does feel like the best adaptation or film that uses the COVID era in our recent history to actually say something important and make it feel just as surreal as it sometimes felt being in lockdown. I think he really was able to, with such a grand range of characters and ideologies and political kookiness, it really does feel like you're just doom scrolling Twitter like as a movie. And that's what Aster think I said in an interview recently, was that Twitter wrote this movie because he was just on Twitter in 2020 and was like, this is the worst. And I really feel he captured that really well.
Yeah. Zach, what about you?
I, similar to Arthur, spent the majority of like the first half of COVID on a farm. And so like I didn't really, a lot of the stuff that was going on that this movie talks about, I kind of stayed away from. So I guess it was kind of interesting to see like the way that Ari used like that sort of political messaging as sort of like a parody in a sense. And almost like you guys have said, like a mirror up to our current society. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah. I that's interesting. I found it to be pretty accurate. A lot of what you guys are saying is true. It does feel, and I think that's what has kind of driven out so many just visceral reactions from people, good and bad. Is I've heard a lot of people say, "Oh, it's too soon," and it's like, okay, guys, it was 5 years ago. Like, calm down. Like, I get that it was
high
really
school in that time. Yeah.
Yeah, like I get it. It's uncomfortable to watch things that just recently happened, but like All the President's Men came out 2 years after like the events that it depicts. Yeah. Like Apocalypse Now is like happening during the Vietnam War. Like we weren't even out of it. We're already making movies about it. So like cinema works quickly. And I do think that this is probably the most accurate portrayal of just the atmosphere and the vibes that are in the air. I think one of the things that Eddington does really well, and Ethan, you touched on this, is it is not trying to solve for the issues. And I think that's where people are really getting hung up on where they fall on Eddington. Because I think the people who are the most against it are the people that went to it thinking that he's going to really do this hindsight 2020 and be like, see, if we all just did this, everything would have been fine. But in reality, what he's doing is, essentially saying, guys, we had no idea what was going on. Nobody had any certainty whatsoever on either side. It didn't matter what alignment you had. We are all living online, which is just doing nothing but giving us false information and feeding conspiracy theories. And we're all just trying to find answers, and no one has them. And placing it in this small town, I think I've phrased it this way of like, this is a movie about global issues with small town problems. Like that's where he's filtering it through this lens of people who literally say out loud, COVID isn't in Eddington. Like that's a line that they say. We're like, you know what I mean? And so it's just, I actually really liked it. Like, yes, it's uncomfortable as hell. No one wants to relive 2020. And I actually had a pretty good 2020. Like, I understand why nobody wants to do that, but movies are supposed to be uncomfortable. And you're supposed to kind of look back at it and be like, oh yeah, we were kind of dumb and we're still kind of dumb now. So
yeah, we're not. I don't think we're willing to do that because you look at the box office numbers and we don't want to face this situation. It looks like if it's only at the amount that it's at now, then that shows. Honestly, it gives even more depth to the movie because it shows that we don't want to face any of these kind of situations. We'd rather live in our own realities, very much like the characters in this film do. Because when these characters in the film are talking, they're on like two fucking different planets because of the two very different ways that they're approaching different situations and different realities. And so whenever really the standout scene, no spoilers really, there's a standout scene at a barbecue or something like that between Pedro Pascal's mayor character and Joaquin Phoenix's sheriff character. And that really encapsulates that situation, done to the tune of a Katy Perry song, which is fascinating to say the least, with everything going on, with her lately and everything. So
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this real quick. Ari Aster is 2 for 2 in needle drops, in my opinion. 2 for 2 in some of the best needle drops of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're talking about the Parker Posey one with Mariah Carey.
Yes.
Yeah, no. That was a good point in Beau is Afraid. I think the movie kind of needed that to come at that moment in the film, really, because, man, we were just getting dragged through that middle part of the movie, basically, when I was watching Beau is Afraid. So, yeah, no, he's good. I just read the other day, though, he initially wanted Empire State of Mind by Jay-Z to be the song, but they couldn't get the rights to it for this movie for Eddington. So instead of the Katy Perry song, he wanted to have that one. He said it really fit well with the scene, but they didn't get the rights for it, unfortunately. So they chose this one.
Yeah, Fireworks by Katy Perry is pretty strong.
Yeah, it works. It's crazy.
So you did mention Joaquin and Pedro Pascal. So let's just talk about casting for a minute. I'm trying to nail all the things that we can talk about before we get into spoilers, because I think that's where the real thematic things kind of start to come out. I think there is something deeper below the surface of I think 2020 is actually just the backdrop. It's not what the movie is actually about. So I'm excited to dig into that, but we'll give a little bit more time before we get into spoilers. So let's talk about casting. This film reunites Joaquin Phoenix and Ari Aster. Emma Stone shows up for a little bit. Austin Butler. It's a pretty star-studded cast. The Pedro Pascal of it all, I want to tell you guys, if you haven't seen it, it's okay. He's not in it that much. I know he's a star, but like the overexposure, it's okay. He's actually really good. But I wanted to just kind of talk about the casting a little bit. How'd you guys feel about the characters, how they did it? If you had to stand out. So Zach, I'll go ahead and start with you. We'll just snake back.
I'll start off with Joaquin, and I'll say that I think this might be my favorite Joaquin performance since like The Master. I think that his embodiment of Joe Cross was phenomenal. This is definitely like between this and Beau is Afraid, they like him and Ari definitely have a really good working relationship, and it shows in the film. Like I said, this is the best Joaquin's been since working with PTA. Like this is it. And another performance I loved was Austin Butler. I won't really talk about why I loved him because we'll talk like in spoilers, but that whole scene was absolutely hilarious to me. Like the whole, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ethan, what about you?
I really enjoyed everyone in the film, but I really especially loved, let me just verify his name here. Whoops. Was it Michael Ward as Michael. Yeah, well, look at that.
Yeah.
It was a really like more low-key performance, but especially when he's that scene near the end when he's speaking with Joaquin and the guy who's the other cop in the sheriff's office, you really feel like that he's a really believable person, and that like his entire world is like coming down. And I just really wanted to mention that all, not just the stars of the film, but everyone who plays a part in this film really nails it. Like the woman who plays Joe Cross, Joaquin Phoenix's mother-in-law, who was also in The Penguin as the mother. I thought she did a phenomenal job as crazy ass mom, and you look at her and you just get it. Like, nobody feels like they are pretending to be somebody. Everyone just works in the roles that they're given, and they really hold this thing together.
Deidre O'Connell is her name, by the way.
Thank you.
Arthur, what about you?
Yeah, no, I mean, this is Joaquin Phoenix's show, no doubt. That was one of the things that kind of, I don't know if it really tested my expectations, but I didn't know how they would kind of divide everybody's time up in the film. But yeah, it's definitely more of he's the lead performance for sure. Pedro Pascal, I would see, is supporting. But no, I think everybody did great. I'd say Austin Butler, actually, to me, was the weakest link in the whole film. I think they could have cast anybody in that role, and it could have been interesting. I don't even know if they even got him for their initial first choice, but it is like, it's kind of interesting too, between all the different performances, like especially with the Emma Stone character, who she's not in it much either. But she does a lot with the time that she's given, as her mom does. But what's really interesting about those two roles is both of them are conspiracy obsessed, but it's like different fields of conspiracy where they're not even on the same link, even though they're completely down these rabbit holes. They're still not in sync with the kind of stuff that they believe in. It's very fascinating. Well, we'll get into this later when we're starting to talk about spoilers, but Emma Stone's character, there is a lot there that I think repeat viewings could really bring up about. There's the trauma, whatever she's going through. That's something I would like to learn more about and try to kind of piece together, because I think there's a lot there to still gain from repeat viewings on that one. But all in all, I felt like the performances were all really great, especially with the limited time that some of them had. And the only, one that was maybe forgettable was the Austin Butler one, even though I don't know if he will end up being that forgettable, because that thing with like, you were not a coincidence. This is not, that whole thing will probably stand out, in social media and stuff like that for a long time, perhaps. So, I think Ari really brings out the best in his actors, and that's shown in every single one of his films, especially as Ethan was talking about with those very minor supporting roles. He had a lot of those in Beau's Afraid, as Midsommar as well. And he really makes good, he gets the actors to make good use of those bit parts that they have, where they give it a full dimension, even though they're just on for just a couple of minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think acting wise, it's as solid as anything he's made for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Joaquin. I think they were talking about it on The Big Picture, which is a show I really like, and I think it's true in what they say, that like Joaquin is an event, right? Like he can never be anything other than a leading man. And whether the movie is successful or not doesn't really matter. Like you're never going to see Joaquin just pop up and be a side character somewhere. Like he has to shoulder this movie. And I think Ari really understands that. And I think there's a very short list of people that can match such an ambitious filmmaker in what they're trying to do. And I think Joaquin is probably one of the only people that can do that. And do that believably. I think the character of Joe Cross that he plays is pretty believable, even after things kind of spiral out of control and get to almost cartoonish levels of satire. But I do. I just think Joaquin, this is his wheelhouse. This is what he does. He's so good at this. And he's great when he works with Aster. I really liked the Butler performance, but that's also because I don't really care for Austin Butler in general. So when he does something that I like, I'm always a fan of. And a lot of it is just because I hate music biopics and I hate when people get awarded or praised for them. And I'm sorry, dude, but like, you're from Anaheim. You are not from Graceland. Like, drop the goddamn accent. Please stop. That was going to drive me nuts. And so I harbor some, look, it's probably unfounded, but I harbor some unfounded hatred towards him as a performer. But when he keeps doing stuff like this, right? He does this, what he does in Doom 2. I think it really demonstrates that, like, yes, he can remove himself from the Elvis stigma and kind of be other people. And so I appreciated that about him. I think the Emma Stone of it all really, I think I agree, Arthur, and we're going to get into spoilers here in a minute, but I agree that there is a lot going on there. And while I think Emma Stone's overall magnetism and star power might be a detractor because you're so worried about her not getting enough to do that you don't realize what it is she's actually doing. And I think if it was a character that was a little less well-known, or a star that was a little less well-known playing this character, I think more people probably would have picked up on that. But you need somebody like Emma Stone to be able to do a lot with a little. And I think she does a really good job. And then the last point I'll say on it is, and this is actually going to lead us into spoiler territory because we'll start talking about themes and scenes. But Arthur, you touched on something that I just think is phenomenal. So you have Joaquin, you have Emma Stone, you have Deidre O'Connor. All three of them are excellent as performers. But I love this idea that all three of them live in this house. They all live online, and they are all down different rabbit holes of conspiracies. None of them are communicating to each other at all in any logical way. So you have one woman going down the rabbit hole of Pizzagate. You've got another one going down the rabbit hole of kind of spiritual enlightenment. And then you have another one going down this political path of mask mandates and and like, none of them share an umbrella under this conspiracy theory realm. And I just think that is so fascinating and so hard to pull off. And my God, you have to have people who are incredibly skilled at performing to match what he's trying to accomplish when those three are together.
Yeah, because it could really tip into absurdity very quick. And it does, but in a good way, like a good absurdity. Whereas if you just have these like bad actors doing this, it's going to be just a mumbo jumbo circus, and it's not going to be entertaining, just very not laughable in a good way. That's for sure. I do like also that his nickname for Emma Stone is Rabbit also. So that's always kind of an interesting thing there too.
That's really good. I like that. I didn't even think about that until you said it right now.
I just thought about that too just now. So that's what's great about this movie is you could think about it and pick out a lot of shit from it that you just didn't think about. And you're right. They're not on the same island of thought or anything like that. What's very funny too is even though like a lot of those kind of things are typically like MAGA kind of conspiracy talking points, they're not all together on that sort of thing at all. Yeah. And it's very interesting. The things that Joaquin Phoenix eventually accuses the mayor character of, Pedro Pascal's character, if that's actually true or not. And she's just living in denial because she wants to be this more grand thing that's happening to her rather than what actually did happen to her. So it's very fascinating to say the least.
Yeah. So let's use that. Let's transition into spoilers. So fair warning, if you haven't seen Eddington, go watch it. We're right at the 29-minute mark. So pause it, go watch the movie, and then come back, and you'll be able to join in the conversation. So let's just kind of talk spoilers. We'll keep this a little bit more open now. So what are some things that you, especially for Zach and Arthur, since you guys have seen it twice, what are some things that you really kind of attached yourselves to or picked up on that you want to talk about a little bit more in depth? Ethan, you can answer the question too, but they've seen it twice, so I was asking them.
Yeah. You want to go first, Zach?
You can go first.
All right, cool. The one thing that I did not pick up on the first time is Joaquin Phoenix gets COVID. And
me too, honestly.
Yeah.
It didn't, I just thought it was him having an asthma attack, and then I noticed the test result email, and I'm like, oh shit, it's COVID.
Yeah, but he was dealing with it so much longer before that, which I never really took notice of. I don't know why, but he's dealing with that shit for a lot of the movie, and it probably because the first sign of it is he gets dizzy and he has to grab onto something when he's in the kitchen doing something, and I'm like, oh shit, he's got it now, and so that helps unravel his mind more on top of all the social media and all that stuff. That was something the second time that I found exhilarating because I'm like, dude, this motherfucker is losing it because he's got COVID and he's got all this other stuff in his mind going on, and he's literally playing out the dizziness, how he feels, the coughiness, the loopiness, all the stuff that you would get if you had a bad case of COVID. He's playing that out in stages up until it gets the popping off point.
I love when he goes to eat the coffee grounds and he just can't taste it, and then he just disregards it. It's just like, oh, whatever, and then leaves. And I'm like, bro, you ate coffee grounds and didn't care.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, man, this guy's eating coffee grounds now. This film's got the best of him. I'm not sure, but then the second time, I'm like, oh, he can't taste. Everything tastes like terrible. And there was another character that has that same experience in the film. I can't remember who it is right now, but someone else loses their taste. And they're dealing with that. Oh, it's the homeless guy. He's drinking all the stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it tastes the same. It all tastes the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he brings in the COVID at the beginning of the movie. So you have COVID in like this menacing homeless man form descend into the town, and then it kind of goes off from there. But I would have been more interested to see other people get COVID and maybe see some more protester stuff happen at the end of the movie. But still, I thought the way that the Joaquin Phoenix COVID thing played out was really great. It was really well done.
Zach?
I just want to say in my second viewing, it was hilarious. Right as the film, now that we're in spoilers, I can kind of explain a bit more. When the film transitions to the like Black Lives Matter riot, or not riot, but like the protest in the town, there was an older couple that was in the row below me that just got up and walked out middle of the movie. Like he's like getting his armor or like his bulletproof vest on or whatever, and like they just get up and walk out. And I went to see it with my aunt for the second time, and she's like, should we leave too? And I'm like, no, it's not. But seeing it a second time, one thing I really appreciated about Beau's Afraid is how good some of like the background and sight gags were. And like a lot of the billboards and a lot of the stuff that's going on in the background of certain shots is certainly something I picked up on in the second viewing. Especially with this one.
Yeah.
The cinematography in this is incredible too. I'm pretty sure it was Darius Kanji, the guy who did Seven.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a world that you can just get lost in. There's when the homeless guy is going onto the town, you see the overlook of the town. It looks like it's like a model town or something like that. Like it's not real. The way that the sky looks when he's out at the gun range, man, it's really that was partly why I kept thinking about it. It's like, man, even though it's like all this fucked up shit happening in this movie, I want to be in that world that he creates. And I really feel like Ari Aster creates his own RA universe with all of his films. I feel like Beau's Afraid is happening in the same world as Eddington, Hereditary, and all those kind of places. What he does is creates these worlds that are out of balance, and he does that very well.
I love that the camera is never still. Unless we are on another screen where Ari Aster is literally second screen watching his own movie, which I just think is incredible. Like that, the way that he frames those screens, but the fact that we are watching the film on a screen through what's happening. There's that great shot. I use it as a screenshot in my review, but there's that great shot where Joe Cross is giving his really just cringeworthy, like Curb Your Enthusiasm level of mayoral campaign speech at this random Mexican restaurant in the middle of Eddington. And it's so brutal. It's so sad and so funny. And it shouldn't be, but it is absolutely hilarious. But this shot, the way that he does it is like we're watching him kind of pace, and it's got that Kanye presidential race kind of blow up where things are just spiraling out of control. And then all of that actual action fades to the background, and the actual thing that we see is right off to the left of the screen, and it's his cell phone with the ring light around it, and we watch the rest of the speech through that. And that to me is just like, this guy gets it, man. Like he knows what he's doing. And when I start peeling back the layers and I remove all the 2020 of it all, three things come to mind, or three things stick out the most to me. One, this movie is hilarious. I know people feel real bad about laughing at it, but like he wants you to laugh. This is as black comedies can get. There's that great line where Brian, one of the kids that gets radicalized, and both ways actually, but he gets radicalized because he wants to date this girl, and he gets all into the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's all white kids.
Oh, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, the Kyle Rittenhouse.
Right.
Yeah.
That's probably the funniest payoff in the whole film.
Oh my God, it's so good. It's the fact that he goes from like social justice warrior to the new Kyle Rittenhouse. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. But there's a scene, one of my favorite scenes is when he's at dinner and he's just going on this diatribe with his parents about how they need to get rid of their whiteness and they have to dismantle the systems. And his dad just looks at him, he's like, "Are you fucking R-word? You're white." And I just like that to me just demonstrates how absolutely hilarious this movie is.
And all the guns are in the background. Just
right. Just dude, you're white.
You see it coming from a mile away. You're like, this is about to blow up in his face, and it's just the one static shot from far away, and you see everyone's expressions from the way it's blocked, and you're like, oh, this is the setup, and like the punchline is the moment he closes his mouth.
Yeah. So that. And then the other thing that I really started to kind of understand as the film goes on, especially when it transitions from being this Western kind of two guys against each other. And once Joe Cross basically crosses the line, cold-blooded murders the homeless man, and then he's basically snapped, right? And then it basically becomes a conspiracy thriller. You get your crisis actors, which is also just absolutely hilarious to me that he just pulls this Antifa and just goes absolutely insane with it. I loved that. But all of that aside, the one thing that I really, really want to kind of talk about, or at least that really addressed to me, was this is not a movie about COVID. And this is not a movie about 2020. This is a movie about technology. This is a movie about living online and the dangers of technology taking over middle America, because the whole premise of the movie is actually about this data center that's going to get set up in Eddington. Like, that's actually the catalyst of all the events. And you don't pick up on that because it's not a focal point, but you start to realize as you dial into that, everything is about this. We are living online. It is destroying our lives. It destroys our lives at our most vulnerable, which just happens to be 2020, where everything's uncertain. Oh, and by the way, we haven't learned any lesson because we put an AI data center there, and now it's basically just going to keep everybody
just double down on it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And I think once you realize that, the movie becomes funnier and it actually becomes better.
Yeah, no, it's so you have so big time spoiler coming ahead. So you have the Pedro Pascal character, he's gone, right? And so I was trying to figure out, all right, the plane comes in, that private jet comes in, and then the guys are at the end, you got the drone and everything. And it took me a day to realize. I was like, oh, that's the deep state. That's the deep state that came to make sure they're going to get that AI center into that area. And you need to take out this MAGA sheriff to make sure that is taken care of, basically like that. So I realized at the end, oh, it's a horror film because the deep state has come to kill and stuff like that. So it's super fascinating.
Yeah.
And he covers all that basis. But I think it could use another viewing just because that ending it's so much. The mother-in-law character, whatever happens with her at the end, it's a complete 180 from where she was at before, it feels like. So there's just so much there that's just like so rich to keep visiting on repeat viewings.
Yeah. Zach or Ethan, is there anything that really kind of stood out to you that when you start peeling back the layers, what are some things that really speak to you thematically? And obviously we're in spoiler the territory, so you can cite specific scenes, stuff like that.
Derrick, I heard you. Oh, sorry.
Ethan.
Oh, you go ahead, Ethan. Sorry.
Okay, Ethan, go for it then.
No, I was asking what the question was. I just.
Oh, yeah. So when you start to kind of peel back the layers, and you can cite specific scenes or specific characters, when you kind of start to peel back the layers, what are some things like thematically that really spoke to you about the movie?
Part of me was thinking about The Final Reckoning, Mission Impossible, when Tom Cruise is fighting the guy in the boat, who turns out to be a traitor and is working for the entity, and he tells him to get off, like, you spend too much time on the internet. And that's kind of also like a thesis on this film too. Like, we have two big star-studded movies that have come out that focus on how AI is turning your brain into fucking mush. And it doesn't matter where you think you'll land, or if you think you're right, like, you're still going to be causing damage in some way. Granted, one side's gonna cause a lot more damage than the other one, obviously, but you need to, it's really interesting how it wants you to just not be a fucking idiot. I don't know, like, it's hard for me to I feel like I really need to see it a second time to fully gather everything, but I didn't like even fully get who it was on the private jet in the first place. But now when you say deep state, I'm like, oh, well, fucking duh, of course. It's like a private jet. Like, it's not just rich protesters or whatever.
Yeah.
It's those who wanted the AI center, and that's why it cuts from the shootout to the AI center, so your brain makes that connection. Mine didn't. But I think it's really funny when films like these have like a twisted sense of, oh, this thing you wanted, well, here you go, but it sucks. Like, yeah, he got to be mayor, but he's fucking disabled and isn't really even the mayor.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fun with the way it plays on making everything really funny. I'll pass it over to Zach.
And actually, before you go, sorry, the one thing that it really reminded me of specifically in what you're talking about, Ethan, in him ending up as a paraplegic and getting what he wants, but not in the way that he ever wanted it. This is so Coen Brothers coded. It's not even funny. Like, I just recently watched Burn After Reading, and I was like, oh shit, like this is that movie dialed up to 11. Like, and that movie was already dialed up to 10, but it has the same kind of like, yeah, in the end, nothing is actually solved. Like, whatever powers it be are going to operate. Like, yeah, they're probably going to win because they have a private jet to fly in their deep state to kill anybody indiscriminately if they need to get an AI center in there. And yeah, none of it means anything. But anyways, Zach, go for it. Sorry.
It's funny to me that you mentioned the Coens, because I was actually going to bring up, this movie reminds me a lot of Raising Arizona. I don't know why, whether it's just the setting or just the kind of general zany humor to it. Another thing in terms of thematics that I would compare this movie to is The Curse, the Showtime show that came out, what was it, 2 years ago? Last year? The Nathan Fielder show?
With Emma Stone, actually.
That was actually my point, is her performance in this is almost an inverse of her character in The Curse in a way. Because like her character in The Curse is trying to help all the people that are living in the Espanola, was it? I believe that show was also in New Mexico.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, which is interesting too. Emma Stone's just hanging out over there a lot now. Yeah,
apparently. But in that show, she was trying to do the best for the community, and in this, she's just gone completely the other way. And this movie, it might be it's awesome. I'm really The Curse is definitely something that I would honestly would make a good double feature. Like it, like if
the
you're
Cole
committing
thing is
a long one, but a great one.
Yeah, if you're committing to the whole 8 hour, or is it 10 episodes or 8 episodes?
I think it's 8. I think it was a short series, but
yeah, I watched them in 3-episode chunks, like every like other week at the TIFF cinema. Like I got like, so I saw them in like chunks, and I would see an episode right before the new one came out. So it's hard to even remember how long it was. But if you're in here, if you're listening, you're watching, and you haven't seen The Curse, go do that.
I would say another shorter double feature. I mean, they're both still kind of long, but I would actually say watch Cloud by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. That one is also an indictment of you're online way too much, and the dangers of late stage capitalism and how it's all just ruining our lives. And ironically, both films end in just an insane shootout out of nowhere. Like both films
wow.
have almost the exact ending, which is just crazy to me. But that's another really, really good double feature.
I would love to see that. It's only playing at like one theater in LA right now, but I should try to get over there.
Yeah, I saw it at TIFF, and so and I meant to see it again, but I just, as I was thinking about it, and then I saw Eddington, I was like, damn, dude, this would be a good, especially, and again, I just kind of keep coming back to this of like, if you can get past the mirror of it all, and you can get past the everything that he's trying, because it is ambitious, right? Like a white guy from New Mexico trying to tackle Black Lives Matter protests in a white town in New Mexico, like, yeah, you're gonna ruffle some feathers. I get it, but he's also just trying to demonstrate that, like, it's surface level on purpose, because that's not what the movie is actually about. It's not about the Black Lives Matter protests, right? Like, it's about something else. This just happens to be one of the things that gets us to where we need to go. Ethan, you wanted to say something?
I wanna let Zach bring something up, because he told me something about an earlier version of a script that had to be changed, and obviously I think everyone will understand why.
So I can say this now. I read a leaked version of the script for this like a couple months ago because I was excited for it, and I just couldn't let that excitement be contained. And the original like campaign slogan for Joe Cross was "I can't breathe."
Oh my god!
Oh, because of the mask. Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, because
Oh god, they should have stopped. They should have kept that. That would have been really.
Honestly,
listen,
I know it's like in super poor taste now, but like just given, and this is something else, and not to unpack this too much, but like Joe Cross really does start out with the best of intentions. And you say that, and it's horrible. I get why they changed it. I understand. Like, we're looking back on it, we know the events, but like, it would be clear to me that he would make that up as a slogan before he ever found out about George Floyd. And then it just ruins his whole slogan, and he's got to backtrack and got to figure it. And like that's the kind of humor that this movie has already. And I find that hilarious, even though I know a lot of people were like, no, you can't fucking do that.
Like some of the signs on his vehicle, like the "Don't let Eddington, New Mexico turn into Facebook, New Mexico," fucking hilarious. Just perfect.
Well, that truck.
I also love the truck where it says "Your vote matters," and it's spelled wrong, or like whatever it is. It's something like
"You're being manipulated."
Yeah, oh, that's what it is. Yeah, it's "you're being
no
manipulated"
apostrophe.
with no apostrophe or RE. That made me laugh every time the truck pulled up.
Well, that truck, I mean, there are trucks out there like that with people that have all that crap on their. There's like out here in Orange County, there's a guy at the grocery store that I'll see his truck every now and then. It's got all that pro-Trump, anti-vaccine, all that stuff. It's on his truck. There's another one in LA that I saw during COVID a lot where I never saw it driving really, but I saw it parked in my friend's house. It had all that kind of conspiracy, just complete coverage on the entire vehicle. And so when I saw Joe, I was like, Ari saw that. He saw one of those kinds of trucks also, because he took that from reality, because there's those guys out there that spread that message. Even if they're not campaigning for mayor, they have those trucks that have all that different stuff on it. And then they might have the speaker and they're saying stuff out loud as well. So he really that's what's so crazy about the movie, is that it's totally real. That the people out there will have like a truck that looks like that and drive around like it's a normal thing.
Yeah. It's such a tricky balance too, to try to bring in this grounded look that's also a satire, and it heightens some of that stuff where it gets a little cartoony. So we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon, but I do want to just get to some things that maybe didn't work for you guys. I know we've kind of waxed poetic about the things that we really enjoyed. I think thematically this film is incredibly rich. I think it's very funny. The cast is great. I think, like we've said, if you can kind of get past some of those things that make you feel a little uncomfortable, I think there's some really good things in there. But there's a lot of stuff that happens. So this is a lot of movie, and it's very ambitious, like we said. So is there anything that maybe didn't work for you that you felt like, I don't know if that's, this is why it's not a 5-star masterpiece or something like that? Ethan, we'll go ahead and start with you.
I really don't know if there's anything that didn't work for me, because sorry, like to glaze, but like I got like a Midsummer director's cut Blu-ray with a foreword by Martin Scorsese and this beautiful artwork. Like I'll glaze Ari Aster. I love these movies. Things that didn't work. Like, I guess maybe it was how I didn't connect the fact that it was the deep state connected with the AI, and that's who the people in the jet were, and that's why they went to kill him, was to secure that AI shit. But obviously that can just be me since everybody else clearly got it. Stuff that didn't work.
If you don't have anything off the top of your head, it's okay. Everything can work for you. It's fine.
Yeah.
No worries. Arthur, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think, maybe it could benefit from having only a 2-hour runtime, but it is hard because I had all these, like, again, the expectations from seeing it the initial time. And I'm like, oh, they should have done this and that. But then after seeing it a second time, it's hard to imagine how they would not have some of that stuff, like some of the scenes that they needed to have in there. I don't know if they should have taken any of that out or not. But I do feel like the protesters could have been a part of the shootout at the end, and that would have been kind of interesting. I would have liked to see maybe some of the protesters, not that I want to see them get shot, but just be involved in that shootout more. I guess they kind of were, because the one guy, he got involved at the end, but it would have been funnier maybe to have some of those other protesters still out and about during that mass shootout. But that's just to me being a person that likes to see more gunplay or something like that. So I don't know. But I think maybe you kept the protesters in the film at the ending of the big climax, and you have all those kind of things combust at the same time. But it kind of happens before the initial shootout kind of begins, actually. So yeah, I think it will take more repeat viewings to see, but it's hard to see what he would change because a lot of that stuff might be vital to keep in the film.
Okay, Zach, what about you?
I'll just echo what Ethan said. I'll glaze the fuck out of Ari Aster right now. I think that this movie is incredible. I don't really have any issues with it. It's a very like sobering look in the mirror to a society, and I really enjoyed that it was able to be put out. And yeah, art should be challenging, and like the fact that this is like sparking so much discussion is very interesting to me. Like that's the point of the movie, is to drive discussion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we might not ever see another COVID movie again. This might be the only one we ever get that really shows what it was like during that time. Because he might be one of the few directors that has the balls to do it, or can even get the money to make something like this, especially now that, they're not going to be making the money back probably.
I don't know, man. Hallmark's got you covered with Love in the Time of COVID. So maybe we've got some content.
I know I should hit some more Hallmark movies. I need to broaden my horizons a little bit.
Also, you guys want to talk about too soon? That shit came out like 6 months into COVID. Like they had already made that movie before like COVID was even done. So, but yeah, I do feel like this movie is not perfect, and obviously no movies are, and so I hesitate giving it like really, really high marks. But like I said up top, I always appreciate directors that give you something to talk about. Right. The fact that we can come on here and we felt compelled to talk about some deeper things and uncover some things that we didn't realize existed, or get different perspectives, like movies that do that. We need more of, and they just need to be out there. And so for me, I think there are some, even though the camera never slows down, I do think that that switch from kind of setting up the life and atmosphere in 2020 and then switching into full-on conspiracy thriller with Deep State, I think that's a pretty jarring shift. And while I think Aster does it pretty well, I do think that he's pulling on a lot of threads and trying to keep that ball of yarn together pretty, and it's tough. Because there's just a lot, right? Like you watch Joe just go off the rails, and then he's just proceeding to cover up his own crime, and then all of a sudden the Deep State shows up, and we just kind of forget all about this thing that was driving this movie in this thing. So I do think I think ambition can get the better of him a little bit. But I also respect the hell out of the ambition. And I think that we should just keep talking about it. And I think it's a movie that deserves to be talked about. And I can't really be too harsh on a movie that does that. I can knock it down for a couple things, but for the most part, like, yeah, this is a movie I think you should see. And I think it's a movie that you should laugh at. I think that's where so this will be my final thoughts, and we'll go around and we'll do final thoughts. But for me, final thoughts, like this is a movie that you should laugh at. It is okay to laugh. It's uncomfortable as hell. It's meant to be provocative, but it's not meant to provide you any answers. It's a very nihilistic look at the internet, at living online, at social media, AI. Like this is a technology movie disguised as a Western with the backdrop of COVID. That's what this is. So if you can go in thinking of it like that, it instantly becomes funnier, and it is okay to laugh when Joe Cross. One of my favorite lines in the entire movie is when she's spouting, when the girl is like spouting off her rhetoric, and he's like, "Oh, you can always tell when somebody learns something new in social studies." I cried. I laughed so hard. And that's what like it's supposed to be funny. Like it's okay to laugh at these things. And he wants you to. He's asking you to laugh at them because they are ridiculous. They might feel real, and they might be based in a reality of small towns trying to deal with global problems, but like, yeah, it's funny and it's okay. And if you can do that, I think this movie actually makes a lot more sense. And I think this movie is better than people will give it credit for if you're able to take it on its own terms and not be so put off by his provocation and hoping that his provocation leads to answers when that's not what this movie is. So yeah, that's where I kind of sit on it. Arthur, what about you? Final thoughts.
You know, Peter Travers said it really great in his review for it. He was he's a film critic as well, if you guys don't know, but his review, he said, Eddington is not a perfect movie, but it is a movie that matters. And I 100% agree with that, because the fact that we even have a guy like Ari out there with the balls and creative mojo to even release something like this, or any of the films that he releases, we're very, very fucking lucky to still have a director out there that's willing to do this kind of filmmaking. So I think it's great. I'm excited that there's at least something out right now that I can go and watch multiple times to get something out of each time, because we don't have a lot of that right now. And I think we
got a fun movie with Superman.
I know, yeah. I gotta go see Superman still, but yeah, I'm really just happy that there's something out that we can talk about. And even if it doesn't do great at the box office, who cares? We gotta get past that sort of thing also, because that's not what it's about. And really to a certain extent, we want to have a movie that stands the test of time, that we can talk about and digress over the years to come. I think Eddington is going to show some really serious chops in the years to come on streaming and other platforms, and I could see it popping up in more screenings and stuff like that, at theaters in the years to come.
Yeah, for sure. Zach, what about you? Final thoughts?
I think that this movie is, like you guys have all said, this will definitely stand the test of time. I can see this movie being like a Babylon or something that in like 10 years, we all look back at it and it's like, holy shit, how did we get Austin Butler, Emma Stone, Joaquin Phoenix in a movie together about COVID? Like, and I just really liked it. And yeah, I'm excited for whatever Ari does next.
Yeah.
Me too.
Ethan?
I want 20 more Ari Aster comedy movies, because obviously there was nothing funny about Hereditary. You can read Midsummer as a black comedy, as some places in Europe do. They don't see it as horror at all. And Beau is Afraid is definitely more comedy, and this is just straight comedy. And I want a lot of funny Ari Aster movies, because he's the funniest guy in Hollywood right now. And give me 20 more just like him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Well, guys, thank you so much for jumping on. This was great.
No problem.
Yeah, I had a great time. So Ethan, Zach, Arthur, thank you guys so much. Everybody watching, thank you so much for checking this out. Keep checking back on ForReel. We have more movies to talk about, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Ethan. Zach, have a great day, everybody.
You too.
That's it.